I'll Be Sure thinks that Diddy is trying to kill him. I'll Be Sure believes Diddy is responsible for his near-death experience when he was in a coma from July 2022 until October 2022. Stay tuned.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 35, 45 minutes.
You done fucked up, you know that, don't you?
You got knocked the fuck out. What's happening?
Now, many of you may or may not know this, but I'll Be Sure and Diddy's relationship goes back decades. Let me explain. See, I'll Be Sure and Diddy were a part of an originating a group, a record company called Uptown Records. It was not only I'll Be Sure as one of the originating people that was there when the company was started, but also Heavy D, Andreharrell, Kimporter was around. In fact, she was dating I'll Be Sure at the time, and also I'll Be Sure. Now, here's the thing. It was called Uptown Records. Now, ironically, Heavy D died from an apparent heart attack. Andreharrell died from an apparent heart attack. Kimporter died from apparently just having flu symptoms, and I'll Be Sure almost died and was in a coma for over 2 months. What's going on here? I'm not making any accusations. I'm not saying anything, but results don't lie. And this thing looks and smells kind of fishy. I think we need to check for some trout or some salmon around here, because I think that this thing is fishy. Now, as I mentioned, Kimporter actually dated I'll Be Sure. They dated before her and Diddy started dating, and they had a son named Quincy. So now you see the dots starting to connect. Quincy is the son, I'll Be Sure's son, that Diddy raised. So in my estimation, from what I read, years ago, it was all a mutual agreement between I'll Be Sure once him and Kimporter split and Kimporter started dating Diddy. It was all agreed upon, and I'm sure he may have greased I'll Be Sure's palms. I'm sure he got some kind of payout for agreeing to allow Diddy not only to raise his son, but he allowed him to adopt his son while he messed with Kimporter. They had other kids, Diddy and Kimporter, afterwards, before Kimporter unfortunately met her demise from flu symptoms. So I'll Be Sure and Diddy's relationship go way back. In fact, they both had a relationship with Kimporter. And when Kimporter died, I'll Be Sure made comments pertaining to the fact, not just after she died, he made comments that it was kind of fishy. But when the allegations started to come out about Diddy, I'll Be Sure made comments pertaining to, I knew about this, but I thought maybe with maturity he had changed. Like, in other words, I knew the type of things Diddy was into, but I thought after all these years, maybe he had matured and changed. But allegedly, he hasn't, if all these allegations hold true. Now, recently, I'll Be Sure spoke out. He's been speaking out here and there, this and that, but lately he's been getting more and more bold and more detailed. He's coming out with some kind of documentary. In fact, his documentary that he's coming out with is supposed to explain all of this and get to the bottom of his coma and maybe a host of other things and allegations. But it was alleged that Kimporter, when she died, was putting together also a tell-all book about her life, which also was going to include Diddy and some of his behavior, both known and unknown to the public. So these dots are starting to connect. So just recently, I'll Be Sure made some comments, and you be the judge of what you think he was referring to. You're going to really need to call Homeland Security. All right, now, we know who just got raided by Homeland Security, the FBI, and also local authorities. That was Diddy. So obviously, he's implying that he's talking to Diddy. Now, I'll Be Sure also mentioned the feds led fans to believe he was implying Diddy, but it seemed like he is. Now, sources say the insinuation that Diddy put I'll Be Sure in the hospital is crazy and fake news. Now, this is Diddy's people. They say it's crazy and fake news. They go on to say anyone who thinks Al was a great dad should be asking where he's been the last 3 decades. So now it's almost like they're positioning themselves. They're trying to discredit I'll Be Sure. They're trying to basically say, why should you listen to this man who abandoned his son and was a deadbeat dad for the last 30 years? But to my estimation of what I understand, that was a mutual agreement between Kimporter, Diddy, and I'll Be Sure. He allowed him to adopt his son. So in other words, you have to sign off for that. There has to be communication. So I don't know if he was clearly just being a deadbeat dad. I don't know what the arrangement entailed. But I see this as them trying to discredit Al B Sure. Now, Al B Sure is 55 years old, and he's a radio show host. And again, I mentioned he was in the hospital from July 2022 until October 2022, almost died. He woke up out of a coma in October 2022. He said he almost died, intubated, and on a ventilation with a tracheotomy. But that's not it. He also had to go through a liver transplant. He underwent a liver transplant. So Al B Sure is now living with a new liver. He's living with someone else's liver. So I don't know exactly what caused his health problems, but it clearly looks like it's a miracle that he's alive. So you can understand why, if he thinks that Diddy has something to do with it, you can understand why this thing is heating up. You can understand. And then when you look at, Uptown Records, all other founding members are dead. And Al B Sure was around from the beginning. So if I was a member of them records and I had stuff to cover up and I was involved in some things that I didn't want to be exposed, I would try to get rid of anybody that could possibly expose it. I mean, that's just common sense. This thing is crazy. All right. During another interview, Al B Sure expressed gratitude that Quincy was not there when Diddy's home was raided, because you saw, Justin and King Combs were put in handcuffs. They wasn't arrested, but they were put in handcuffs. So Al B Sure said he's grateful that his son didn't have to go through that experience. Now, he also adds, the entire situation is unfortunate. I don't speak about another man's business. All I know is that I am working on the life story and the way I got to be in a coma. Stay tuned. So I wouldn't say that's a threat, but it sounds more so like a promise. Now, his son Quincy also spoke out. This was years ago. This was in 2009. But I feel like Diddy's team feels like, because they're trying to state the claim that Al B Sure is not credible. So now you see all this stuff starting to come back out and unfold as they eventually probably move toward court. If Al B Sure is truly trying to make that claim that Diddy has something to do with his near-death experience. So his son Quincy, who Diddy raised, wrote an open letter to Al B Sure in 2009. Now, Quincy targeted Al for not being around in his life, and he praised Diddy for stepping up with his mother, Kim Porter, to raise him. Now, Quincy says, Albert Brown, that's Al B Sure's real name, is my biological father, but Sean Combs, that's Diddy's real name, has been a father figure in my life for as long as I can remember. Now, Sean Combs is the person that I look up to and appreciate as a father. He is the one who helped mold me into the person I am today, and will always try to live up to his expectations. He has always been supportive of me, and I will forever love and respect him. Now, following that Diddy home raids on March 25th, Al B Sure begged Quincy to come back home. See, so what it sounds like to me is that this thing is headed to a climax. This thing is building up, and pressure busts pipes in all facets. So this thing is about to burst in some way, shape, or form. So will Al B Sure be on the right side of this burst? Will Diddy be on the right side of this burst? Will Quincy, Al B Sure's son that Diddy raised, will he be on the right side when this thing finally breaks wide open and bursts wide open, when everything and everyone is exposed that partook in anything that was illegal? That's the question. See, here's the thing about life, and I know I say this often, but no one escapes free, which means we all have to be accountable for all of our energy, all of our words, thoughts, and actions that we put into the universe. We all have to account for it, because God created the perfect system called the universe to govern all of us. The universe is undefeated, and it keeps a perfect score. No one escapes without being totally accountable for all their contribution. In other words, karma is coming for us all. But karma, many people put it in a negative light. Karma is just as positive as negative. It's whatever you put into this soul, whatever you sow into the world, you shall also reap from the world. Good. Precisely. So karma is not a negative thing. It's whatever your behavior was, that's what kind of karma's coming back to you. So again, allegedly, this Diddy has to face all these demons that he put out there into the world. And now it's the time that he has to face it. Every knee shall bow. Every mouth shall confess. We're not simply physical beings here living on earth having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings here living on earth having a spiritual experience. It's all in the spirit. The only time we come out of the spirit is when we operate through pride and ego. And you already know pride comes before the fall. Here's the thing. Thank you so much for watching. Be great, but more importantly, be blessed.